Is South Africa about to have another new political party next week? Well, that's the buzz coming from political circles after Goldfields chairperson Mamphela Ramphele resigned her chairmanship to focus on her social and political work. Now, for weeks now, Dr. Ramphele has been rumoured to be on the verge of launching her own political party in opposition to the ruling African National Congress. She has resigned her private sector directorships and will relinquish all other remaining directorships and other private sector positions. Earlier, I spoke to political analyst Eusebius McKaiser about Dr. Ramphele's prospects as a viable alternative to the African National Congress.
There certainly will be a political launch on Monday, Karima, and I think there are one of two possibilities. Either she will launch a political party, full-fledged, or she's going to try and launch an initiative of a political nature. For example, she might say to the country, not in so many words, I'm thinking of starting a political party, but I want to test whether you have the appetite for it. Why don't you and I have a massive campaign around electoral reform and force this government to have a constituency-based model so that they can become more accountable? Let's see how quickly we can get 1 million signatures. And by the way, if we can get those signatures, then actually I might offer you a political party.
So you think she's going to lay the basis for something, but perhaps be less, ambitious and go 16 months before an election for a full-on party that's going to have a very difficult run?
Absolutely. 2014 is not on the cards. It would be the worst non-start since Cope if she tried to contest seriously in 2014 on her own. The reason is simple. She doesn't have a machinery, she doesn't have the resources, she doesn't have branches across the country, she hasn't figured out whether she wants to be black consciousness, centre-right, tell poor people help yourself, or tell poor people actually you need a more leftist government than the ANC gives you. That needs to be hammered out. It takes time. She must take a long view. If she wants to be in active politics seriously, she has to look at 2019, which means the announcement on Monday will probably just be embryonic, and she will hope that it becomes a catalyst for the real deal going forward.
Now, of course, there was a lot of talk about Mamphela having a relationship with the DA. People were speculating about whether she was going to be parachuted into the party, whether Helen Zille was going to bring the DA under Mamphela, recalibrate it, make it into something new. What do you think went wrong there?
I think two things went wrong. Firstly, part of the deal is that in order for Helen Zille to have been able to go to the very different factions within the DA and have them believe that Mamphela is the right person to become the leader, she needs to be able to say to them, this is what Dr. Mamphela Ramphele will bring besides her lovely self. And what she was supposed to bring were all these other incredible people with great track records in South African history, from the brothers Patiana, Bani and Sipho to Moletsi Mbeki, because these people can then be presented to the DA leadership as a whole coterie of black credible leaders. But she's a one-man band, so that made it difficult. And I think in addition to that, it's just good old political ego. She's a human being, and a politician is a politician is a politician. I think someone whispered into her ear and said, you know what, you don't have to negotiate the complicated baggage and image problem of the DA. Go it alone. There's a niche for someone of your stature to go it alone, and I think she believed the height.
Now, the idea of going it alone, I would suggest that it's a flawed notion, because Dr. Ramphele wouldn't be the first black political leader in the opposition. We have several. We have Bantola Misa, we have the PAC, we have various formations, and they have simply not resonated with voters in large enough numbers to give them substantial support. What is, those advising her, why would they think that she would be able to do differently?
I think it's a fascinating question, Karima. What I would say, despite my skeptical pieces about her prospects, is that I do think there's a niche. I think if we had a genuine centre-left, non-racial, working-class, left ideology-based party in this country, it could give the ANC a run for its money and really cause difficulty for the DA. So there is a demand in market terms. The problem is that all these other parties have never been properly organised. They've been a bunch of disgruntled reactionaries post-Polokwane, and they weren't really starting a new party on the basis of a coherent new identity. But my problem with Dr. Ramphele's effort is that even though she's not part of a faction of disgruntled people after Mangaung, she still suffers from the same lack of ideological clarity, the same lack of machinery, and therefore in many ways she might suffer the same fate unless she really takes a long view and slowly tries to build a political party in the medium term. But if she tries to pull a Cope 2, I'm afraid there's no hope for her either.
Now, these individuals that you've mentioned, these leading lights, black intellectuals that have been very critical of the ruling party, slashing the party around its inability to deal with corruption and a whole range of other things. Why do you think they are not part of this initiative?
I think the reason is very simple, that if you're a wonderful businessman, call yourself Sipho or Moletsi, then why would you want to risk the possibility that you will get small change rather than real deals, especially in relation to business with the state? This all feeds into the bigger complicated story, Karima, that you are very well aware of the relationship between business and politics and money and politics, and the individual desire of politically connected businessmen, including Moletsi Mbeki and someone like Sipho, to be able to have their cake and eat it, to sound like these incredible people who are beyond politics and who can give us comment week after week, and at the same time secretly have decent bank balances. And I think they were running for the hills because their moral conscience is not as strong as their desire to maximize profit.
If Dr. Ramphele launches a party on Monday, what kinds of people would she roll out, would be standing next to her? There's been speculation that former COSATU General Secretary Jay Naidoo might be one of them. You know, there's been so much speculation about who's going to join her. What are the kinds of faces that we're likely to see?
I think it's anyone's guess, but I think someone like former Minister Jay Naidoo, someone that we might see, someone like Zaki Ahmad. I doubt it, because many of these civil society leaders, Karima, are they're disappointed with the ANC, but they've got ANC blood running through their veins, and their disappointment at best will manifest in legal challenges, as we've seen with the TAC or with Sipho Potiane, where KSEC does a very good job of keeping government on its toes in terms of constitutionalism. So I can't see them taking their disappointment with the ANC to a new party. They'd rather be above the political fray. But I think in the best case scenario, she will trot out people in civil society like a Zaki Ahmad and hope that she can convince them, not that they're being party political in a narrow sense, but that they're rallying around an important issue like electoral reform, and then perhaps in the medium term she can persuade them to stay on when she morphs that structure into a real political party. I think that's the best case scenario.